Hey there, my name's Sebastian, and this is Talk.Pod, a podcast where I have conversations with some of the most interesting podcasters in the world. My guest today is Jason Rabinowitz, co-host of the Proof of Concept podcast, a show that explores the world of beverage alcohol competitions. It's a niche that I didn't even know existed. Proof of Concept looks to uncover the journeys of founders and makers whose spirits have stood out at the highest level. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right. So, first question. Give me the origin story of Proof of Concept. How did it come about? How did it go from sort of initial idea to live podcast?
So, well, I guess there is no story without the personal story. My wife's father was Anthony Blue. He passed away a few years ago, and he started the San Francisco wine competition in the late 70s with the city of San Francisco. And he was the wine editor-in-chief at Bon Appetit. He had a syndicated CBS Lifestyle Minute for decades, among many other things. And this competition was something he did because of his connections within the industry and his passion for just quality in the beverage, in the spirits, wine industry specifically. He had a remarkable palate, probably a super taster. Like, he just had a crazy good palate. He was on Mythbusters, for goodness sake.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
To dispel the if you take well vodka and pour it through a Brita filter 10 times, will you get Grey Goose? And
I don't think I caught that episode.
Oh yeah, no, it's hard to find, but yeah, I dug it up. It's a small story in a bigger one about alcohol. Anyway, was just to say he's an expert and a passionate and an enthusiast. After his passing, he had 4 children. Some of his children, my brother-in-law Toby Blue and my sister-in-law Amanda Blue, have taken over the company, have run the company and run the competitions. And the competition is a very special thing. It's evolved. Now there's 4 competitions throughout the world. There's one in Singapore, one in South America, one in New York, and one in San Francisco. And it's not only wine, there's spirits. And the spirits competition has really taken off as spirits have taken off. The idea behind the podcast was people don't know this. This is, it is kind of a gold standard within the industry, the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. If you win at San Francisco, you're there. It is 100x'd brands when you win, Tito's is an example of Hendrick's gin. It's really, it's a game changer in the industry, but nobody knows about it. You don't know about it. I mean,
no,
exactly. People don't know about it. So the idea was to increase the media presence of that brand. And my brother-in-law, Toby, and I, because it's fascinating. I'm fascinated by it, all that goes into spirits making. And as a spirit enthusiast myself, someone who's gotten a taste with my father-in-law and learn a little, my palate is nowhere near some of the 80 expert judges that they have to do that competition. But yeah, it's really fascinating and interesting, and I hope it can be interesting to a wider audience as well.
Yeah. So digging in on your background a little bit more.
Yeah.
From what I understand, you're a 3-time Grammy-nominated musician, which is incredible. You've scored films, you've performed on Broadway, fronted bands, and go ahead, correct me.
There are 2 Jason Rabinowitzes.
Oh.
In my bio, I saw there's 4 things. The scoring films part, that's not me. I did not score those films.
Okay.
I've done all the other things, but not the story.
That's on me. I'm going to have to improve my research process.
No, it's really I get his checks sometimes with my social on it. It's funny like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Don't beat yourself up about that. People really screw that up.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
But given your background, I'm curious how that's informed the podcast in terms of, designing it, the production process. What has your background sort of brought to the table as far as making this show?
Sure. That is my contribution. Like, as someone who's spent their life in media and in audio production and in just productions in general, I was able to do all the things, like get the right gear and get a mobile rig together so we can go and interview people and, edit it on the back end, do all the post-production work.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, given what you said about the way that you structured the podcast was to essentially create more awareness about these competitions. And I think it's very interesting that the premise that you settled on in the podcast, because it focuses on interviewing, I guess, founders whose spirits have won these competitions.
Yeah.
And I don't know a lot about spirits.
Yeah.
I'm not a big drinker.
Yeah.
I have friends who are really into whiskey.
Sure.
But I did sort of the requisite look at what does the world of spirit podcasts or spirits podcasts look like? And there seems to be a lot of them. Like with many genres in podcasting. But yours kind of explicitly is a show about why something wins, why something is a particular spirit is excellent. I'm curious why you chose that framing instead of, a podcast where people taste the spirits or review the spirits.
Well, we do have a tasting portion of that,
okay,
where we taste with the actual founders. But actually, what I think what the podcast is about is evolving, because we're a year into making this podcast, and that was our initial premise. We thought, oh, that's really interesting. Why there's 1,000 whiskeys that enter. I'm making that number up. I don't know the actual number, but it's a lot.
Sure.
A lot. What makes this whiskey stand out? Why do all of the experts? Because in order to truly get that double gold, you really need a consensus among a lot of different palates. And the rigor around blindness, like it's like we at the competition, there's all these volunteers, and this is a long history of having volunteers at this competition. Some people come back. There's one guy who's come back 50 years or 40 some odd years. Yeah, he's very special.
Wow.
Paul Bourbon, if you're listening. And his children come. It's beautiful. One of the volunteers works in a hospital. She's like an internist, and she said the level of redundancy in rigor around checking to make sure there's total non-bias at all. Like there is you're just tasting a liquid without any context. So the liquid has to stand on its own, is more intense than at a hospital. So where was I going with this? So why is that double gold? What are they doing?
Yeah.
That is that is different than what everybody else is doing. And I honestly have to say, after interviewing a handful of these founders, double gold founders, I see something. And I know that we may be touching on that later, so I don't want to derail us. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know how many winners are, sort of crowned at each competition, but I imagine that there's probably more winners than you can possibly interview. And I'm curious how you pick who you invite on the podcast.
Well, so Toby, my brother-in-law and co-host, he does all of the booking, really, because he's coming from the industry side. I'm from the enthusiast side. That is my role. I am the layman who's just interested.
Right. Okay.
So he does those bookings. I think a lot of are based on availability and interest.
Mm-hmm.
But all the brands we've reached out to have been really eager to be featured by the competition, because it like I say, it is a gold standard in the industry.
Yeah.
And it's widely known and acknowledged because of this non-bias, because of this objectivity. So to get back to what the podcast is about, so that began as our principle, but now we just did a series where I think possibly our whole second season is taking place at the competition, interviewing judges, doing tastings at a round table with these like expert palates, talking about the team behind making it and like and that is so fascinating. I think we're going to explore the difference between what is, subjectivity versus objectivity. Like why?
Sure.
Why is this better? And and they have a thesaurus around it. Like
wow,
getting your vocabulary right, even if you don't love a spirit, knowing what it's supposed to be, in its platonic ideal, is your goal as a judge, and that is your burden, because you have to be, like I say, it can make or break a brand. You have to really get your head right every time, and these judges all take it so seriously, and everyone who works on that side of it, it's fascinating to me. Yeah,
sounds like it for sure.
Yeah.
You mentioned at the top of the show that you're hoping this podcast will kind of start to appeal to more general audiences. I mean, admittedly, the subject matter is fairly niche, obviously. And it's interesting because I talk to other podcasters whose topics and subjects are quite niche as well. I'm curious how you think about that in terms of drawing in audiences that aren't necessarily like, hardcore spirits people that, live and breathe whiskey collection.
Sure. Well, we're figuring it out. We're building the plane in the air. But, I see, and it's a little different with alcohol specifically because not everybody drinks, but music, everyone can hear a song if you play it. There's a lot of analogs between this because it's just a different sense. Everybody can taste, but not everybody's ears can hear the harshness at 3K and, whatever. I've been trained to listen to music like an audio engineer would. Not everyone's palates have been trained to taste the way these judges have been. So I do think, but everyone can hear a song and everyone can taste something and decide if they like it or not. So I do think there is opportunity to find the way into that subject matter, which I find fascinating as someone who's devoted my life to one sense, essentially.
Right.
The sense of listening, hearing. I think if you're interested in that at all, it will appeal. We will find a way to have it appeal to you because everybody tastes. And it is a fascinating thing to explore.
Now, tell me, what is the Tasting Alliance? Is that sort of the parent company over top of the competitions? Is that right?
Yes, correct. And they do a bunch of other events where they feature the winners. One is called Top Shelf. I'm not as well versed in it as I ought to be. But yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah,
because what I've observed about your podcast is that it kind of sits at this interesting intersection of kind of being a branded podcast. A lot of companies, they create podcasts, again, for the purpose of exposure for the most part. The proof of concept is sort of the Tasting Alliance's official show. But it's also kind of an editorial, in my opinion, storytelling project, it seems.
Yeah.
In your experience over your career, I guess building audiences in music and entertainment, how do you keep a show like this to kind of not feel like a brochure? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot of branded podcasts are thinly veiled advertisements.
Yeah. Well, I think it's genuine interest. Like when I am talking to, the fourth generation, and I think it comes through. I am genuinely interested in these stories. It is fascinating how these folks decide. If you've seen, like, I think you've seen our pilot episode was this brand Chinola, which is this very special passion fruit liqueur.
Yeah.
That's expanded into all these things. But like, there's a through line between these folks that have there's always more than just a rigor around wanting something to be excellent in and of itself. There's a community aspect to almost every brand. I don't know. I think, to get back to the question, there's something really, like, people are interesting. Everybody has a story. I'm fascinated by business. I'm fascinated by, subjectivity versus objectivity. I'm fascinated by the nuances of our senses and getting really deep into something that I enjoy. So I just think it's just genuine interest that keeps it from being, desultory,
Yeah. It has to provide some value too, right? It has to be more than just, hey, look at us, we're trying to get more eyeballs on this, or in this case, more ears on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I only listen to podcasts that like enlighten me in some way. So that's my gold standard going into this. I'm like, how can I provide information to someone who's interested?
I think a lot of podcasters would do well by heeding that advice. Is, first make something that's interesting. Make sure that what you are making is of the highest quality, is something interesting that people want to listen to, because, I see a lot of podcasters come across my desk, so to speak. I run a podcast discovery newsletter, and I get, hundreds of pitches every week. And there are a lot of bad podcasts out there.
Yeah.
No question. Now, on the topic of video, obviously you're on all the major podcasting platforms, and you're on YouTube as well. And YouTube seems like it is becoming sort of the most important discovery platform for podcasts, because it has that natural sort of built-in algorithmic discovery right in the platform. I'm wondering how you sort of think about the visual dimensions of the podcast. Is video now sort of the first-class citizen for you, or does the audio story still come first?
This is the first visual pod I've done. I come from audio first. And it turns out, whenever you're doing anything video, you're making a television show. There's just no, there is no such thing as a video podcast. It's a low-budget television show. And you have to make it look as presentable and professional and visually interesting as you do sonically, like, as you would just thinking about audio only.
Right. Yeah.
We've learned, like, our pilot I was like, I think we can shoot in 1080p. Nope.
Nope.
It'll be so much easier on the back end to edit. And and I see it and I'm like, oh God, what were we thinking? But it's a journey. We're growing. We're evolving. So So no, I put a lot of equal care. You got to put equal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we kind of live in the clip economy these days, right? Everything is short form video, and again, a lot of discovery happens on these short video platforms. I'm curious if you pay attention to that, in the sense that, oftentimes what catches people's attention and what makes them stop the scroll is that the clip they're watching is interesting. It has something that catches their attention. Are you thinking about that when you're designing or scripting out the podcast, when you're thinking about talking to some of these founders and the questions you ask them?
No.
Making sure that there's going to be at least a few things in there that are kind of shareable or clip worthy?
It's interesting. Like, we had a gimmick for, like, leave a question for the next guest.
Okay.
But no, honestly, like, we're not that savvy. We're just trying to make something interesting to us.
Sure.
And good, like something of value, something that we would want to listen to. And I can't think. I'm not that good. I can't think that on that many levels at once. I'm following my nose. Yeah, no. it's unfortunate because I think it would be, it's definitely a leg up if you can think in that way. I'm not of that generation where that's like latent to me. I didn't grow up on the internet in that sense, so it doesn't come naturally.
Yeah, me neither. It's not native to me either. I mean, I have grown up on the internet, but it's a muscle I have to work. It's not doesn't come easily, doesn't come naturally to even think in that way.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, from what I understand, and again, this is just like cursory research that I've done because I'm not a big spirits person, but it seems to me like there's some pretty big and sort of passionate online communities, whether they're whiskey or, mezcal or craft collectors. Have you thought about some of those communities, kind of leaning into some of those existing communities as, a distribution channel for the podcast? A way to sort of find those audiences?
It's a good idea, Sebastian. No, I mean, yeah, seriously. Yeah. I don't know. So on the marketing side, we're blessed with having the Tasting Alliance team, and they've been extraordinarily helpful in like helping us pull out clips and just think about it in terms of marketing so we can focus on stories that are interesting and producing the most interesting work that we can.
So you've got a marketing team at the Tasting Alliance
they help with that. But that's a great question, and I'm sure someone there. I mean, it's a crack team to be certain. Like we're 4 people in the whole, but hardworking, incredible people. In fact, we interview them all to discover sort of how this sort of industry juggernaut comes to be and what, how many hats they all wear. It's quite interesting.
So speaking of marketing and speaking of, I guess, cross-promotional opportunities, that's one of the things that a lot of podcasters engage in, and they often cite that as a very effective technique, is they basically just go on other shows, go on other podcasts to spread the word about their own show. I'm wondering if you've done any of that, or you're kind of thinking about doing some of that as well.
I'd be happy to. I truly would. Yeah, no, absolutely. We just want to get the stories out because the stories are interesting and all things are on the table for sure. We're figuring this out as we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thinking big picture, what do you think success looks like for proof of concept? Let's say 1 year down the road, 2 years down the road. Is it number of downloads, sort of influence, industry impact, or maybe something else?
There's levels of that. Certainly the metrics are a great and simple yardstick to hold up to a measure of success. Yeah, if we're getting, even for us, even 50,000 downloads a month would be massive.
Right.
So we're starting from a dead stop. And there,
Right.
as it takes consistency and longevity to build a community. What we're doing is building the community that is interested in this and is passionate about it and who's along for the ride, who wants to hear what we have to say. So that takes some time. So success would look like having that community together. I'd love to do live events. I'd love to do live tapings. I'd love to follow. I mean, this was Toby's original idea. We were going to try and get just to follow a handful of brands from before the competition through the competition to tell the story of a brand as it goes from 4 guys in Ohio just, distilling something in like a backyard garage to a double gold global brand. That's a really interesting story. And they exist by the score, like the scores of them. Just passionate, excellent people who believe in excellence. So, so that would be that's sort of the top level, the Netflix deal.
Right. Yeah, of course. Yeah, those journey type stories tend to do well. It doesn't even matter almost what the journey's in, right? Maybe you're building a cabin in the woods. Maybe you're, like the people that you interview, you're brewing something in your basement,
Yep.
right? And then you go on to win this big competition. But that leads me to my next question. Are there any sort of, I guess we'll call them white whales, that you'd like to have on the show that is sort of like a dream guest for you? I don't know if they're necessarily a winner of one of these competitions, but, maybe somebody that is, really big in the industry.
Well, Sebastian, like, as you know, cross promotion is huge. We are starting out. What I love about the competition is it's not prescribed. You can't be Chirac, you can't be a celebrity brand and buy your way to a double gold. You have to be excellent.
Right.
That said, there are some celebrity brands that are freaking excellent. It just happens to be that way. Brothers Bond is a great example. Like Ian and Paul, who were in the Vampire Diaries together, and they started this whiskey that is just one of the best whiskeys in the world. It's just excellent. It just plays because it's just so good. So yes, there are brands that would probably, if they tweeted about it or put it up on their Instagram, we might get like 100x downloads of that episode, and that would be great for us. But in general, I am most interested in talking to people that can, elucidate what's fascinating about the whole endeavor, the industry side, the science of it, the chemistry, the subjective, the palate side, the stuff that you can learn. Like, what is that? I'm fascinated by all of that.
Didn't the Breaking Bad guys start their own brand? I think it was a tequila brand they started.
Yes.
I don't know if it's any good.
I don't either. But no. I mean, I wish my brother-in-law was here. Toby was here. He would know all of these things. Yeah.
Okay, I want to switch topics a little bit. I've never really talked to you, sort of an industry insider, about this topic, but I'm curious how you think about it. There seems to be sort of a broader trend of a significant decline in the consumption of alcohol, especially across younger generations. I'm wondering how you think about that.
So I think we see it as cyclical because it is. It really is. It just goes through cycles, and that's just how it is. There is something about, the way for sure, like I'm in my late 40s. The older I get, I'm not interested in drinking the way I would like when I was in my 20s. So it's more about the sensory delights of it, the tasting, the nose, which is great. My tastes are growing. But that said, I do think there is something about alcohol. I know I'm on the record here. There's something universal about it.
Sure.
Caveman societies, the ones that had alcohol, they evolved quicker because people got together and talked, and there's a social element of progress that happens.
Yeah, it's that social lubricant, right?
It's real. Yeah. It is mild poison. And yes, there are health, but like in moderation, I think I've personally, the way I have fallen in my life is the benefits, the way I use alcohol, the benefits greatly outweigh, or I'm making my cost benefit analysis to say, this is totally worth it to me.
Yeah.
So I believe in it, I guess, so I think, fine, go for it. And also, it's not like you can't taste NA things. There is a whole NA component that's non-alcohol for non-industry people to the competitions now because that's something that's great. Now there's like a bunch of non-alcoholic cocktails in a can.
Yeah. One
of them will be universally much better than the rest in each category.
Sure.
Or not. Or, that experience of honing a sense, all of the things that I discussed, the industry piece, the science piece, the sensory piece, they all apply there. So in a sense, we're ready to roll with it. But I do believe there's something just beautiful in a well-crafted spirit. It's thousands and tens and hundreds of thousands of years old, and how people have been doing this. So
yeah, no, it's a good point for sure.
Yeah.
There's definitely a heritage there.
Right.
Humans have just naturally been brewing stuff for a long time, whether accidentally or on purpose.
Right. Or by necessity, because it was the safest thing to drink, because all the water had giardia.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And you're right. It proves as that social lubricant. I feel almost like it's this weird symbiosis now that a lot of young people have in terms of their aversion to alcohol, because on the one hand, they're kind of avoiding it because a lot of them are just sitting at home on their phones and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And their lack of sort of participation with the outside world and going out to parties and going out to socialize, that has definitely reduced the alcohol consumption, I think.
Yes.
But another thing I noticed too, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but at least to me, as an outside observer, it seems like the spirits industry has sort of historically relied on things like reputation and heritage, but also gatekeepers, right? You talk about these people that spend a lot of years training their palates. I mean, what the hell is that? How do you even train a palate, right?
Right.
It sounds... I mean, I understand that that's a thing and it's a real thing.
It is a real thing.
Again, from an outside observer, this feels a little gatekeeperish. You know what I mean? Feels a little snobby. And I'm wondering if a podcast like yours can kind of function as a more sort of democratized storyteller about spirits and about the world of alcohol. Do you feel that way?
Well, 1,000,000,000%. Because what I find is these quote unquote gatekeepers, they're really passionate about, and the people that are, I don't know, I'm sure there are snobby sommeliers all around this planet, but like the people I've come in contact with, there's a huge like heart component. There's this social component, and it's around inclusion and not exclusion, and it's around celebration of something that they know the craftsmanship that went into it, and the deeper you get into it, the more awesome it becomes to appreciate. The more refined your palate gets, the more awesome it becomes to be able to taste the difference. And that might be where some of the snobbery is perceived as, because it's like things that aren't made with care or love. Who wants to drink that? But because this is serious, and we don't drink all day all day. So like, if we're gonna have a drink, it's got to be excellent. Yes, I hope that the podcast can get over that. There's nothing exclusive about it. Everyone can taste. Let's get our palates to a place where we can appreciate how much care, how much thought, how much blood and sweat and effort went into making something this excellent. And what's fascinating is the deeper you get in, there are real rubrics around this stuff, like how the shape of things. It's just really hard to talk about. There's like I say, there's that thesaurus, and I'm fascinated with talking to these experts about it. Like, how do you begin to develop a palate? It's a lot about the language, learning, and it's the same with audio engineering. You learn what these you learn what the vocabulary means. Something squashed, that means it's like super compressed, but like, what does that mean? Like, and then you learn to identify, oh, that's squashed, that sounds squashed. Oh, that's too squashed, that's unpleasant. This is great, it's compressed. I'm going off on a tangent, but you understand what I'm saying. I do hope that this can make tasting more accessible for people. Yeah.
It's all very fascinating. And it's funny you mention the audio engineering bit. I did an interview a couple of weeks ago with a guy named Will Beckton. He was the audio engineer on the Conan O'Brien podcast.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And yeah,
he was fun. What a fun thing.
Yeah. He doesn't work there anymore. He went out and started his own podcast. I guess it's kind of a podcast studio and an incubator.
Oh, wow.
But he was telling me a story about when they first asked him to work on the podcast. He came from a video background. He was never really an audio engineer until he started on the podcast. And he was asking around, like some of the other people that were kicking around there, like, what is the average compression for a human voice, right? And they're like, dude, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So it's funny you mentioned that, but I'm curious about, how I always ask podcasters about how they feel about the medium in terms of what they think is special about podcasting that's sort of different than any other medium, right? Whether it's movies or TV or music, because I feel like there's a unique nature to podcasting, and it's hard to kind of put my finger exactly on it. And I'm wondering if you agree and what you think podcasts kind of bring to the media landscape that no other format can do.
Well, as you know, like to say the word podcast doesn't mean one thing. Like there's chat casts, there's high touch. I do a lot of high touch children's podcasts that are like bespoke scoring, like, like a Looney Tunes cartoon and like, and then an enhanced like audio comic book world of sound effects and
highly produced,
high touch. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I think, a wonderful way. So podcasts, it's really varied. So on one hand, you have, if you look at any feature film, it's two pieces, and people overlook, it's sound and picture. People overlook. Sound is half of that equation. Like, truly, remove the sound from any movie. What is it? You can remove the picture and still keep the movie. It's like I again, not wanting to oversimplify, there's like great artistry done visually, but in terms of like audio storytelling and what podcasts can do, it's just such a wonderful sort of more lightweight way to tell a really in-depth story. On one hand, that's the high touch side. On the low touch side, you get to have these expansive, informative, interesting conversations, and it's social. There is something social about it.
Parasocial too.
Parasocial, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, Jason, final two questions.
Okay.
First, what are 3 podcasts you'd recommend?
History of Rock and Roll in 500 Songs. One of the best podcasts I've heard in a long time. Although, sadly, his frequency is dropping off, which is fine. He's got 500 songs and he's been diligent. I love Freakonomics. I just think it's so well produced and it's always informative. The narrative, it's just really tight, and I always learn something, and I'm super interested in it. And I mean, gosh, so many. I love Heavyweight. Obviously, everybody knows Heavyweight. I just love that storytelling. I love Death, Sex, and Money. I love this podcast, A Bit Fruity with Matt Bernstein. I love Wow in the World and Flippin' Mosey and, all these children's podcasts that are beautiful. But yeah.
All right. And where can people find you online?
Well, we do have a website with all kinds of information about the show, thetastingalliance.com/proof-of-concept. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Jason, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Sebastian. Really nice talking to you.
All right, thanks for listening to this episode of Talk That Pod. Make sure to follow us on all the social places. Just search for Talk That Pod. And if you're not subscribed yet, this podcast is also available on YouTube at Talk That Pod Show. Also, if you liked what you heard, tell your friends about it. And if you really liked it, give us a follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And if you're a podcaster who wants to come on the show, go to talkthatpod.net and submit a request. Finding great podcasts is hard. That's why you should also check out Find That Pod. It's a podcast recommendation newsletter I write every week, bringing you 5 amazing new podcasts you should listen to. Subscribe today at findthatpod.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one.